Friends, our country is at a critical juncture. Like many of you, I worry that America is headed in the wrong direction. And listening to President Biden's State of the Union address, there's no wondering why. It is clear that the path President Biden has taken us down is the wrong path. His view of what's best for America is much different than the view of most East Texans and, in my opinion, most Americans. While I am disappointed, I am not surprised by President Biden's unwillingness to admit that he has taken our nation down this path. And I'm not surprised that he is doubling down on that course. Whether it be our porous southern border, the weaponization of government against everyday families, a lack of a steady and strong foreign policy, or out-of-control spending and growing national debt, the policies and practices of the Biden administration have led to disastrous results. We need to reverse course immediately. Over the last 3 years, President Biden and congressional Democrats have ignored the crisis at our southern border as millions of illegal immigrants cross into the United States every year, jeopardizing the very security and sovereignty of our nation. They have pushed through unprecedented spending while trampling over the individual liberties of everyday Americans, leaving each American responsible for more than $100,000 of national dollars in debt and driving up the cost of living for everyday Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck. They have shown weakness on the world stage that has left a vacuum of leadership in the world, giving rise to the growing malign influences of the Chinese Communist Party, North Korea, Iran, and Russia, an axis of totalitarianism. As those regimes seek to dominate the world economy, conquer nations by force and intimidation, support hate, anti-Semitism, and terrorism, stamp out democracy and freedom by minimizing the influence of the United States across the globe. Will we really allow this to happen? Or shall we stand firmly and say loudly, no more? We should stand firm to protect our borders, our sovereignty, and the rule of law. It is unacceptable that over 1 million people have been encountered at our borders just this fiscal year, including growing numbers from China and countries with ties to terrorism. Just in this past fiscal year, over 6,800 pounds of fentanyl have been seized across our southern border, enough to kill over 1 billion people. This dereliction of duty has led to more than 200,000 Americans dead under Biden's watch from fentanyl overdoses. Since Joe Biden took office, overall prices are up almost 18%, and it costs American families more than $11,000 per year just to maintain the quality of life they had in January of 2021 when he took office. We should also stand firm to push back against the out-of-control spending that we've seen since Biden took office that robs hardworking Americans of their paychecks and of their futures. And we should stand firm against anti-Semitism on college campuses that result in actions of hate and discrimination. These actions that are ignored by liberal elites who claim to be the defenders of such victims. The hypocrisy of DEI offices must end with their complete dissolution. We stand firm with our allies like Israel, who are under attack by those who seek their total destruction, and we should not turn our backs in this moment when they need us the most. As I've made clear since day one in office, our friends across the globe must trust us, and our foes must fear us. Unfortunately, at this moment, under the Biden administration, it is the exact opposite. Our friends no longer trust the United States will keep its word and keep its commitment to freedom and democracy. Our foes, on the other hand, no longer fear reprisal for their illegal, immoral, and unjust aggressions. This must change. Under the Biden administration, it often seems as if the fundamental principles of individual liberty are being disregarded and instead replaced with bureaucratic overreach, increased regulation, far-left ideology, and weakness at every turn. This is not the America envisioned by our forefathers, nor is it the America that the majority of us envisioned in this life. We must hold those in power accountable and advocate for policies that prioritize the greatness of America and a future that provides for peace and prosperity for all Americans. It is time for our country to regain its original identity, one that is strong, is rooted in goodness, morality, rugged individualism, and freedom. Together, we can steer our nation back onto the right path. As we navigate these challenges, though, we must do so with determination, not shying away from American exceptionalism. We must restore individual freedom by reducing spending and the growing burden of our national debt, getting the federal government out of our everyday lives, growing our energy independence, and reducing our dependency on countries like China, whose strategic objectives are not aligned with ours. We must return stability to this world by returning to the Reagan doctrine of peace through strength, by shoring up our military readiness as a deterrent to those who might challenge us in the future. We must also reject the doctrines of appeasement and isolationism, which were never and will never be effective foreign policy strategies. In doing so, we can work to avoid endless wars and unnecessary military conflicts, and we can send a message to the rest of the world that America is back. Our moral compass as a nation is being tested in these tumultuous times. Now more than ever, it is imperative that we uphold the principles upon which this country was founded, even in the face of adversity and trials. Together, we can build a brighter future for ourselves and for the generations to come. Together, we can restore the greatness of America. I am honored to represent the great people of East Texas. It's my mission and the mission of my office to serve the 1st District of Texas with steadfast principles, effective statesmanship, humble service, and bold action. I'm committed to seeing that through. So thank you for allowing me this opportunity to serve you, to be your voice in Congress, and to help chart a new course. God's blessings on each of you and Godspeed for 2024.